Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Riverfront. This is episode number 468 of the world's most dangerous podcast, where we discuss the Cincinnati Reds and occasionally Felipe Lopez. I'm your host, Chad Dotson. Got a couple of guests this week. First of all, you all know Nate. How are you, Nate?
Chad, I am fantastic. I'm excited to talk ball with you fellas. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Reds baseball is hot in the streets. So I think we're going to dive into it.
Something like that. Back on the show after boycotting me because I forgot about him when I was in the great state of Texas. Finally, I've convinced him to come back. It's Carlos Guevara. How are you, Carlos?
I'm doing well, buddy. New year, new you.
There we go. I'm going to try to my New Year's resolution is to get back into your good graces. So we're off to a rousing start. It's like spring training or something. Are we having fun? Are we overreacting enough to the early results? Or are we, is it possible to overreact too much? I don't think so.
I'm definitely overreacting too much. And I have a feeling it's going to be a contrary opinion on this episode, but I'm having all the fun in the world. And also, before we get into all that, Carlos, I want to tell you, Chad, drop the ball on my bachelor party. You're officially invited to the wedding in Puerto Rico in 2 weeks. So,
I feel like Chad should get my ticket.
Or not. Now we're talking.
Yeah. Right, you show up and tell me what airport you want to fly out of. I'll get your ticket. Come on down to Puerto Rico.
Oh, man. No, but the buzz around spring training, it's fun. It's funny. I think I tweeted yesterday. It's like, before camp started, everybody's like, don't pay attention to spring stats. Don't do that. And then 4 games in, man, we cannot stop tweeting spring training stats. I love it. It's good. I mean, it's better than what it was last year, at least.
That's true. Matt McLain hits a walk-off home run on day one. We're all like, oh, my gosh, here we go. Matt McLain, put him in the starting lineup. Get rid of Jose Barrero. We need another prospect to try shortstop.
So the Reds are going to have nine Silver Slugger winners this year, all rookies. It's going to be a big year, boys.
If that happens, I predict they will not lose 100 games, and that'll be fun. That'll be a lot of fun. Before we go much further, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button. And if you're listening to the audio version, now's the time to subscribe. Carlos is back. He's not going to boycott us again, we hope. This week, there is plenty of spring training news, and we do have a topic we want to discuss. But we have to begin with, it was kind of Joey Votto did not play in any of the spring training games, but it was kind of his week in some ways. First of all, MLB, I guess this was on, this must have been on Instagram, had a post that said, drop your boldest NL Central prediction. And of course, Joey Votto leans in there and replies, extraterrestrials arrive on Earth April 15th. The 12-2 Reds and the rest of the planet learn from, communicate with, and befriend our alien friends. This process takes 5 months. Play resumes in October. The Reds sweep the playoffs and are World Series champs. Side note, the aliens ask if I would like to accompany them on their ship back to their plant. I oblige. Never to be seen again. My question for you, Carlos, is who hacked Joey's account? That doesn't sound like Joey, does it?
My question is weed legal in Arizona?
I was wondering what time of the day he posted that. Was he on some substance, whether alcohol or something? But yikes.
That's out there. That's the Joey that I know, though. That didn't surprise me.
That's
full of that randomness.
And Trent Rosecrans, who has another piece that we're going to talk about in a moment, that's something he said. It's like everybody's finally getting to see the Joey Votto that other people see. Just he's a goofball. Is that a good description of him?
Accurate. He would say thank you. He said
that. Nate, any comments on that before we move on to the more fun stuff about Joey?
Only that the topic of this week's episode is we're going to make some bold predictions, and that prediction is only slightly less realistic than something I want to throw out there later. So Joey's setting the tone for us today.
That's true. That is a bold prediction. But one thing I did want to talk to Carlos about was the piece that Trent had in The Athletic. If you all remember the Joey Mappo piece, basically the oral history of Joey Votto in some ways, last year at The Athletic. And if you have The Athletic and you haven't seen it, go look at it. Well, this week they posted Joey's kind of response to those. And I have to get your response to Joey's responses, Carlos. The first one was this. You said every offseason he decides he's going to do something. This offseason it was chest. And he goes all in on it. He responded, last offseason it was a knob bat. That's what we call in chess a blunder. I don't know. That's not really responding to you, but
yeah, that was a blunder for sure. Probably one of his top regrets of his career is having to go with that bat and start off the year with it whenever he seemed to be feeling well and was ready for the year. And unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you have to imagine that someone that's as structured and regiment oriented as somebody like Joey Votto is, that even a little change like the knob on your bat can send you into a tailspin. It really can mess with you.
Yeah.
You also said, Carlos, he'll send a random video of music and there's nobody on the screen. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then here he comes across doing a little dance and mopping. Then he goes off the screen. It's just like that. It's just that. That's all I'll get. And he says, take notes, Carlos. My question is, have you responded to him with one of those? You've got to do your own version.
Yeah, we'll send random stuff. I mean, he's the originator of it. After like the first five times he did this back in the day, I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. So I sent a couple, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any more, or else I would have shared one with the world.
Oh man,
I feel like I would have gotten the okay from it, but for whatever reason, they're all gone now. I failed you guys.
Well,
he asked me for one whenever they decided to do this story. I guess it was maybe at the end of last year. Trent was working on this. He sent me a text and said, "Hey, do you have any more of those videos?" I'm like, "Sorry, buddy, they're gone." And then I didn't know that they were actually working on this at that time. And then later on, he told me, and so I was like, that's why he was asking.
That makes sense. There's another part there where, and this is something that does not surprise anyone, I don't think, but he confirmed that he loves dancing. How much of a dancer is Joey Votto?
The biggest dancer. Like I'm telling you, at my wedding, he sat down for a couple of songs, maybe. He's out there like full sweating, just getting after it. And it's not like because he was drunk or anything. He just really enjoys it. Like he looked into the culture of, Hispanics and the songs that we dance, because we had some of that going on. And he was right in. He knew what he was doing. And he learned from like my aunts and my uncles, and he was in there doing those dances. And I mean, he doesn't really do it too much, or I don't know about now. Obviously, I'm not in the locker room with him anymore, but he really didn't do it too much in the minors. But he'll send little videos here and there of him working on some things. They're pretty funny.
That's fantastic. Now I have to say this before we started recording. Nate invited you to his wedding, but I can't help but notice Nate wasn't dancing at your wedding. I mean, that's really sort of disrespectful, don't you think? Nate likes to dance.
I text you, Chad. You didn't send it to Nate.
Oh, yes, I'm the bad guy once again, as always.
I'll send you guys some videos of me dancing at the wedding, so we can balance this out.
Can't wait.
And I don't want to dive too deep into this. It's just this thing came out this week, and then unrelated, you happen to be here. So the last thing was this. You have to tell us a story about this gigantic chocolate Easter bunny. Joey's response to the story, and you can tell the story if you want, but he says he looked like he needed a hug. Poor little fella. Did you need a hug?
That little jab there, Joey. He knows what he was doing. He knows I was going to see that son of a bitch.
How dare he?
Yeah, that was kind of. At first, I really thought it was my mom who sent me all those flowers and big old Easter bunny for my birthday. I'm like, no, she didn't, because I know Dan, my girlfriend, she wouldn't do that. She knows not to embarrass me like that. And then I got there. And, oh, Joey.
Oh, Joey. That's really the only thing there is to say. All right, let's get into a little bit of the news of the week. That's enough about Joey for now, although we may mention him again later, because there was a tiny bit of news regarding Joey Votto. Let's talk about spring training. That's where we started a moment ago. What stood out for you guys? For me, some of the things that stood out, I thought Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. I mean, that's what we expect to see, but they look good in their first. Again, I don't even know why we're discussing how they look in these spring training games. It's so irrelevant. I mean, just because Connor Overton gave up 9 runs in a third of an inning, it's irrelevant, right? I mean, but Green looked good, Lodolo looked good. Ian Jabot struck out 6 batters in a row. Those are the Reds' 3 best pitchers. So
On 6 pitches is what I heard.
That's something like that. Yeah, I think so. And each pitch was like a half second long because of the pitch clock. They just hit the quickest 2 innings in the history of baseball. Is there anything standing out as spring training for you guys at all? Carlos, anything for you?
I mean, it's way too early to give an honest opinion, but since we're playing this game, I guess like the bullpen, those guys have been throwing really well, which is good to see. It's difficult to throw in Arizona. It's difficult to grip the ball. It really is. And so to see, their sliders and their changeups having good work on them, you can tell these guys came in camp ready to go. They all know that they're competing for a job. Nobody's really locked in. There's a handful of guys that are locked in, but there's a lot of open spots still. So they all came to impress, and so far they're throwing the ball well.
Oh, good. They have to find some relievers somewhere. Nate, what about you? You're irrationally excited. Let's hear it.
Now, we'll get into some of that during my bold predictions. I'm definitely I'm loving how these young guys have been swinging the bat. It's like Carlos said, they know that they're fighting for a place, and most of these guys aren't going to see the opening day roster. Some of them might not even see the big league roster at all this year, but they know there's an outside chance, and they're up there taking their hacks. I've loved Jonathan India. He's going out there that I wish he would stop sliding headfirst into bases all the time, but stealing bases, being athletic out there has been fun. But one thing I wanted to touch on, at least make sure that we did, is since we have Carlos here, who's actually been through big league spring trainings, like what is the mindset for some of these guys that are, fighting for those roster spots right now? I know that the established guys are working on their sliders, working on their, secondary pitches. But for some of these guys that will make fun of the Reds for signing 50 guys to minor league, contracts and then back to spring training, what is going through their mind every day?
That's a pretty good question. I mean, because we talk about don't put too much into spring training stats, but for some of these guys, their spring training stats are a big deal to them personally, I guess. Carlos, sorry, I interrupted you there because I hadn't talked in a while, and I get nervous if I don't get to talk often.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're right. Like, spring training really doesn't matter for a whole lot of other teams. They've got 3/4 of their roster ready to go. The Reds are not that case. These guys had to come ready to go. Especially, those guys that are on the bubble that could make it or out of options like that. Those guys got to come in almost mid-season form. They got to start their training programs a little bit earlier. They got to start seeing live pitching earlier, so that way they're ready to go week 1, because they're fighting for their jobs every day. I mean, and it's not like they're going to get all of spring training. Most of these guys are going to get sent down here pretty quick in the next couple of weeks, and then another wave is going to come after that. So it's pretty stressful out there. I mean, I was in that position as well. I mean, it was a Rule 5, so it was like every day you're just focused and you're getting your job done, and you really are leaving it all out there, even on the bullpen sessions, because you want to impress someone. You want one guy to be in your corner whenever it comes to roster cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something we don't talk about a lot. Every single year at this time of year, we say 100 times every episode, ignore what you're seeing, ignore the stats, don't even look at the numbers. But for this Reds team, more than most Reds teams, there are guys where the numbers can really help them. I mean, this bullpen, there's so few spots that are accounted for, really, that there are, 3-4 guys at least that can, and often you can't earn a spot on spring because what we say about the stats, but there's some guys that really can't earn a spot in that bullpen, for example. And, on the back end of the roster, well, the whole outfield, frankly, just about has a chance to earn a spot. So that makes this spring training a little more interesting for the Reds, or maybe I'm just trying to find things to be interested about for this team. One of the guys that I mentioned earlier, Matt McLain, and I mentioned him in my initial Cincinnati Magazine piece of the season this week that came out today that I haven't read yet. I hope it was good. I'll let AI write it for me. But it said something about Matt McLain being something interesting to watch during spring training. And there are a couple other guys that I think are interesting, but I have been like low man on Matt McLain forever. But he hits one walk-off home run, and I'm like, this is it. This is the guy. But the truth of the matter is, so far in 5 at-bats, I don't know what, but he's looked pretty good. He's got on base. He's getting hits. He's, I don't know, Matt McLain. I guess my question is this, and I definitely want to hear Carlos's thoughts, but Nate, I'll ask you first. Jose Barrero is probably the default shortstop. And Carlos knows why I want to ask him, because he has some thoughts on Jose over the years, and he's turned out to be exactly right. It's the only thing he's ever been right about. But does Matt McLain have a chance of actually using the spring to grab that spot? I don't know.
Does he have a chance? Yes. And I think the reason I'm comfortable saying that is because of what Jonathan India did 2 spring trainings ago. Nobody really expected him to make the opening day roster, and he just took it in spring training. Now, it's important to keep in mind that Matt McLain's been coming in late in games, so he's not starting off and doing this against other team starters. But I love the 4 walks. I love that he's showing the power. I wonder if him and Jonathan India were doing the same thing last year, where they were trying to bulk up and just hit bombs instead of playing to their strengths, which is athleticism and, those gritty kind of guys that Cincinnati loves. I think there's a chance, but I don't expect it. I mean, if this is a throwaway season, which we all expect it is, let Jose Barrero go prove all of his doubters correct.
Carlos, you've been there you go. Right. Carlos, you've long been a prospect hugger, and you've hugged no one more than Jose Barrero. So I'm gonna open the floor. Have at it.
First of all, I'm back. I'm on the Jose Barrero fan club now. Now that everybody's already written him off, now I'm back on. No, but what I've always said about him was he just wasn't ready, and that was information from sources saying he's not ready yet. He's just how talented is the big leagues is a different level. It's a different, like, as simple as it's saying it's a different level. I don't know how else to say it, but it's not the same as AAA. You have dudes out there coming to get you every single pitch. Every pitch. They're not taking one off. It's very difficult. And if you have any sort of flaw in your game, it's going to get exposed, and it's going to get exposed quick. So then it's on you to make those adjustments. And you've heard, you hear all the greats about how it is. It's playing, cat and mouse with the pitchers, with the league, how they pitch you, vice versa. You just make adjustments, because if it was just, the same here you go, here's how we're going to pitch Jose Barrero every time, and he doesn't make an adjustment, who's that on? That's something that's on him. And so now he's trying something new. We'll see how that goes. I mean, I really think it's going to be pretty slim shot for McLain to make it, because that means they'd have to either release Kevin Newman, and then just be done with Barrero. One of the two that they've got to do, and I think they're going to start off with Barrero this year and giving him pretty much all of April and see what can happen, unless he's just horrible this spring again.
I think he'd have to be really bad, I think, for them not to at least give him the first shot at it, because he's still young. And but you say from sources, but in retrospect, it's absolutely true that he was not ready. I mean, he's watched for 3 seasons now, and he's been just bad. There's no other way to put it. He did perform in the minor league, so again, maybe this is the Nick Senzel corollary. We'll keep giving him shots. But Nate, you got a thought?
That he really only performed in 1 season in the minor leagues. Like, he really wasn't that great any other season. Just that one massive year, and that's what gives me a little bit of pause. I'm rooting for the guy because he looks like a ball player. He looks like a freak athlete out there. He's got a slick glove. But if you're looking for a reason to be skeptical, I think it's that I don't know what the analytics and the advanced stats would say on that 1 season, but the rest of his baseball card doesn't look the same.
Yeah. I was so fired up whenever I saw him sliding headfirst into second and then headfirst into third base. I didn't even get to finish my tweet, and he was sliding headfirst into home plate. I'm like, what in the world are you doing, man? What are you doing right now? Like, I get it. I get it, but the job is yours to lose. Don't be doing stupid stuff and get hurt.
Yeah.
And that's true. The job is his to lose, and he can lose it. They still have this year's Kyle Farmer. By the way, rest in peace, Kyle Farmer. Never be forgotten. But Kevin Newman is, this year's. Oh, okay. Well, if you're not in Cincinnati, you might as well be. You're dead to me. But yeah, I agree. If he can stay healthy, he's going to get a shot. This new toe tap thing he's got going on, or whatever. All right, whatever. Just, dude, you got to perform. It's now or never. Although Nick Senzel laughs at the idea of now or never because he's had 4 consecutive now or never seasons. I want to talk a little bit more about the outfield in a moment when we get to some of our questions and maybe some of our predictions. But Christian Encarnacion Steer. Nate, you've been all over the Christian Encarnacion Steer train for a while.
Did you just merge Spencer Steer and Christian Encarnacion Strand?
Did I say Encarnacion Steer? Did I say that?
Cincinnati Red of all
You did it two
time.
times. 2 times.
We need a Noelvi Encarnacion Strand or Encarnacion Steer. That's what we need, something like that. Or L.A. Encarnacion Steer. That'd be the perfect shortstop.
L.A. de la Encarnacion. We found it.
All right. I don't know what I'm saying, so somebody talk.
I'm ready to talk. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys in on one of my bold predictions. I came up with 3 this year. One of mine is this last year I was all big on Graham Ashcraft. That worked out. So the guy that I'm putting my little blessing on, my little kiss from the heavens, is Christian Encarnacion Strand. My guy is going to hit 20-plus dingers at the big league level this year. At the big league level.
Where's he going to play? Where's he going to play?
They're going to have to find a way because he's going to hit 20 in April in AAA. I'm just kidding, obviously. Slightly exaggerating. But I see him putting 40-plus up, across all levels this year. And a guy like that with a bat like that, he's just an injury away. Now, I would have put that number higher, but I'm not going to. Joey Votto's got first base, and we're wishing him nothing but good health. He's going to be there all year long, and I will not entertain a scenario where that's not the case. But who's the DH? A guy like that just hits bombs. He had 32 in only 122 games last year. He's got a 588 slugging in the minors so far. The guy's got a smile from ear to ear when he's out there playing. Loves the game. I love me some Christian Encarnacion Strand.
God, you mispronounced it. It's Encarnacion Steer, but anyway. Yeah, because that's going to become a thing. Dang it. Joey Votto may not be ready for opening day. Does he start there? Does Will Myers start? He might get a shot early on to at least prove something.
Will Myers already got back stiffness.
Right.
I don't think it's far-fetched that – how many players did the Reds trot out last year? Maybe literally the most ever.
Literally, yeah. I don't know what to make of the guy, but he has hit everywhere he's been. I don't know what else he can do, but he can hit. So, is he Joey's heir apparent? I think is the question. The answer is no, because Joey is Joey's heir apparent. Christian Encarnacion. Any thoughts on Encarnacion Strand? Or I literally put in our notes, our show notes document, I literally put Encarnacion Steer. I literally wrote that. That's why I said that. I was looking at it.
Well, I guess we need to talk about, his dad Spencer then. I haven't seen much of Spencer so far. Has he done anything?
You did say it.
I did. Yeah, he's looking at. I literally wrote that down. What was I?
Do you think that was his real name?
No, but I don't know.
If you ever wondered what the Riverfront thinks of prospects, you just found out.
If you don't show up on next week's show with a fake Encarnacion Steer jerk, you're failing, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have one of those. Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. This is so embarrassing. Can we start over? I've embarrassed myself publicly once again. Let's go into our bold predictions since Nate started it. Well, the last news of the week I wanted to mention was no timetable for Joey Votto. Coming back. He hasn't played yet, obviously, and he's not answering the question. He just wants to get to the place where he's healthy. But I like David Bell's quote here. I don't have confidence or a lack of confidence that will happen. Joey will be back for today. David Bell says, with Joey, I just trust it. And that's exactly the way it should be. Just trust the guy. And you've always got Spencer Encarnacion or whatever to play there if you need him.
Yeah, real quick on that, Chad. He's looking at this year almost as like a tryout. Like this isn't coming from him. This is just me thinking.
Right.
Like because he doesn't want to stop. I know that. He doesn't want to stop playing this year. Whether it's for the Reds or, someone else next year or even 2, he wants to keep playing. So this is the year. So he's going to make sure he's 100% ready to go because this year really matters for him.
Well, yeah. And we saw last year what happens when he's not healthy and he tried to play through it and it just did not work well. And he knows that he has to be ready. So I'm take as much time as you need. But you see in every interview, and he's given a few interviews, but every single one of them, it's some version of, I feel like there was one where he literally said, "I feel like this is my first spring training. I feel like I'm coming into it having to earn a spot." And he doesn't have to earn a spot, obviously, but he doesn't want to go out like last year. He's too, he has pride in what he's been able to accomplish, and I think it seems apparent from what he's saying that he still believes that he can perform.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, take your time. Take your time. In the meantime, we got one of these random prospects we'll throw out there, whose names no one knows. My first bold prediction of the year for the 2023 season: Will Benson will start more games in the Reds outfield than any other player for the Reds this year. Have you all even heard of Will Benson? He's a real player.
I like that.
Will Benson,
he's a big old dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I say
6'5".
If it wasn't for Christian Encarnacion Strand, my spiel earlier would have been about Will Benson. Yeah, I like my big boys.
Hey, that's a clip to save.
Will Encarnacion Benson, 6'5", big time power, maybe the fastest player in Reds camp, plays all three outfield positions. So far, he's pretty good in center field. Again, how much do you make of swing changes he made last year? But last year, his strikeout rate dropped. His swing and strike rate dropped, and still good power, good on base. And when you look at that Reds outfield, who are we talking about? Will Myers. Okay, I like Will Myers, and he's going to be okay. He'll be a Red for half a season. And Jake Fraley. I mean, he rake Fraley, but if you're going to put money on someone to play more games in outfield, I think Will Benson, former number one pick of the Cleveland Guardians, is just as likely as anyone else. That may not be a bold prediction, but I feel like it is because
I think it's pretty bold.
I don't know.
It's pretty bold. I mean, Will Myers is going to get every chance he can until the trade deadline. So they're really hoping that he goes out there and mashes. We all are because we're Reds fans and because we know he's a rental. Senzel's going to get that first shot at it if he's healthy. So are you going to put the smart money on Nick Senzel to be there all year? I mean, I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. We are a pro Senzel podcast, but I am not going to put the mortgage down on that one. So the only question then is Jake Fraley. Can Jake Fraley hit enough to play both sides of the platoon, or is he only going to be in against righties? And how's he going to do? I mean, I like Jake Fraley, but the things that Will Benson does are kind of all the things that the Reds were lacking last year. He mashes and he gets on base at a high clip, and he plays a strong defense. Like there's room for a guy like that. And if they're not trying to figure out how to get him on the field, they're crazy.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But from what I saw, a couple of swings, he's got a big long swing, and
yeah,
he's going to have to make a quick adjustment too, because those guys, like I talked about earlier, they're going to see that and they're going to attack it. With sliders in, splitties down, everything down. I don't know how. Seems like he can hit anybody's fastball. So we'll see what kind of adjustments he makes along the way. Spring training, I think he's pretty much locked in the team, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's
certainly
on the
like
team.
Spring training is kind of like him working whatever, but I think he's going to have, first crack at being, one of those outfielders right away.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of see him like a Jose Barrero type, where put up great numbers in the minor leagues. He struggled. He smaller sample size than Barrero, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I was going to reflect on what you said a little while ago in relation to Barrero, which is that last year, 426 on base in AAA, and I mentioned he posted a career low strikeout rate, his swing strike rate, career lows, but that was at AAA Columbus. And now you're going to be playing against literally the best pitchers in the world. And I mean that because he doesn't have to face the Reds bullpen. So the other teams have the best pitchers. Yeah. So he's going to have to adjust.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I was agreeing with you. You got to adjust.
Yeah. He, what was I going to say?
You're going to say he was a handsome man, and you hope he does nothing more than win.
I will say that I think it deserves mention that give Nick Cross some credit, because if this guy turns out to be everyday guy for several years, trading a second rounder whose name I never knew, So they just drafted the draft before for this guy is a coup, and love it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's one thing that I'm not fully optimistic about him is because it's who they got him from. The Guardians are not just giving away players.
No, not cheap players.
They retool, they rebuild. Their system is strong, and everybody's always talking about how great of moves they make. Why is this one different?
That is an interesting point that I hadn't really reflected upon, which is because we've been giving Nick Krall some credit for getting all his hauls over the last year, but and this one looks like it could be a good one, but man, maybe there's a flaw there in this player that the Guardians saw, and so they're taking a flyer on a second round pick. I don't know. Yeah, it could go either way. So
yeah, even if the Reds saw the same flaw and they were just like, hey, it's just on the off chance that last year was not a flash in the pan, it's worth that shot for us. So I like it either way.
That's still a lottery. It's a sort of a lottery ticket in some ways, but there are things to like. But also, he can't Barrero it up. He has to prove it.
Yeah, I'm all about getting a guy that's pretty much MLB ready for a prospect to do it.
Yes,
the guy that's built like a statue that you put outside the stadium. The guy's massive.
Nate, you had Carlos. I don't know if you had any bold predictions. If you just want to comment on ours, but if not, Nate's got a ridiculous bold prediction for the year.
Have at it, Nate.
All right, my next one is that Brandon Williamson is going to end up third on the team in wins above replacement among the starting pitchers. So we all think that the Reds have a three-headed monster up there with Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft, and whatever order you want to put them in. And we all know how I feel about my boy Graham Ashcraft. I can see it being a bumpy
hefty boy.
Smelling salts in the dugout. Let's go. I can see it being a bit of a bumpy season for Graham. He's got to miss some more bats because with no shift and the way he induces ground balls, there could be a bit of a learning curve there. I love that he's been working on his slider and stuff, but Brandon Williamson was a big time prospect. Yeah, 2021 started 19 games, 14 Ks per 9, 1.18 WHIP, and I like WHIPs that start with a 1.1. And he had 153 Ks in 98 innings. I think he's got the juice, man. I think that's he's going to fight for that fifth spot in the rotation. And at the end of the year, you're going to get 20-plus starts from the guy. And he's not going to, set the world on fire, but he's going to solidify his spot as the number 3 behind Green and Lodolo.
Wow. I'm not sure he's even going to make the rotation, but I like the kid. He came over in the Seattle trade last spring before the season. 6'6", left-hander. Sort of an up and down season last year at 2 different levels of minor leagues, but his velocity is reportedly up. I don't know. Are we getting out of our skis about Brandon Williamson? As if you're watching on YouTube, you see my computer almost fell off the table there. We got to start over.
Have a day, buddy. Have a day.
Oh, bold predictions, right? This was supposed to be bold predictions.
You're all flustered because we're being so positive.
This comes back to the question: who's going to be the rotation? Who's the first 5 starting pitchers that pitch for the Reds this year? Carlos, what do you think? Is it Luis Cessa, and Luke Weaver get those last 2 spots, or do these?
I think Weaver will get the 4th, right? I think so. Dude, pitch.
He has the inside track. I think.
I don't think Cessa needs to go to the pen. He needs to play the Jeff Hoffman role from last year. Jeffrey Hoffman.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Put some respect on that name.
But the other guy, I don't even really know who's in the running for that 5th spot. Brandon Williamson and who else?
Levi Stout. Was a guy named Levi
maybe
Stout.
Who's like worse Brandon Williamson.
Yeah. So because.
Well, Cessa.
I'm with you, Nate. Like, I'm not too far off on that Williamson being the Reds' 3rd best starting pitcher this year because I'm a lot with you on Ashcraft. I view him more as a 4 or, more a 4 and a 5 type of starting pitcher than a number 3 on a good team. Like even 2 years from now, if Graham Ashcroft's their number 3, they're still going to be, only wild card hopes, not pennant hopes.
Yeah, maybe a workhorse number 4. You could see that's a solid rotation if he's sort of a workhorse.
Yeah, just go out there, eat innings, and keep us in the ball game. I think that's what he is. I don't think he's anywhere near all-star type of level. top of the rotation kind of guy. I think he's going to be solid for as long as the Reds can keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my next. This is not really a bold prediction, but it was Matt McLain would be the starting shortstop on the final game of the season. And I meant to say that he would win the starting shortstop job at some point during the season, but generally game 162 for the Reds in most recent seasons have been just a garbage lineup full of has-beens and never was's. So I don't know that was exactly the bold prediction I thought it was at the time I made it, but I was basically saying at some point Matt McLain is going to win the shortstop job on the Reds in time to have Ellie De La Cruz take it away next year. I think is where I was going with that.
So
no Ellie De La Cruz this year is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's where I was going. Like maybe the bold thing is that you're saying that McLain's going to do so well. Ellie does not start at shortstop at the end of the year.
Well, Ellie De La Cruz sucks. I mean, I think that's basically what I'm saying. I've seen nothing from him that makes me think he's good. Has he even played above A ball? Who is this guy? They keep talking about him being good. So yes, that's it. Ellie De La Cruz sucks. That's my bold prediction.
I will say that my favorite moment of spring training so far was when Matt McLain in the interview said that Ellie told him after that walk-off that he's going to show up at 5:30 the next day. He's going to teach him how to pimp home runs.
Yeah. Well, running so fast, that thing was way gone.
Yeah.
There's no clock on you, buddy.
Total side note, man, this team has been – there's an energy that was missing last year. Very specific, good reasons why it was missing last year. They traded everybody we cared about except for like 3 dudes. But this team is out there running around having fun, and I feel like it's noticeable. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the spring in me.
They're missing some grumpy guys that were there last year that can totally bring a clubhouse down, and because the young guys feed off of that. If the young guys are, you're all quiet, to begin with as a rookie. It's a little different now. Rookies have more of a voice than what they used to, even back in the day when I was playing. But now they don't have that anymore. They can let them be themselves. And you can see on that C-Trend article, Joey's, tell them, hey, you got to give me crap. I'm not above basically anyone. Like, come on, let's go. Give it to me. Like, and that's good. That's good to have.
Yeah, and that piece a couple weeks ago that a lot of people crapped on the Twitters about Jonathan Indiaz wants to be the leader of the team, and I understand why people were sort of mocking that a little bit. But on the other hand, I don't mind these young guys saying, "All right, look, they've screwed around on us here, and it's just us now, so we have to kind of take control of this thing and have fun and bring some energy." And I just don't think I think some of that is somebody looking for a spring training article to write. Obviously, there's that element of it, but on the other hand, I don't know. I like the youth and enthusiasm, and give me something to enjoy watching. Whether you're not going to be good, at least be fun. That's sort of our motto here.
The way that I read that article was that these guys are just like, "Hey, last year sucked, man, and if we leave it up to the front office to dictate how much fun we're going to have this season, then we're going to keep having sucky seasons. So let's just say, no matter what, set the tone. We're young, we got the energy. Let's have some fun." As far as being, calling yourself a leader, I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, but just from a tone setting standpoint, I'm all about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Nate. The message about everybody being, hey, let's go out there and and kick some ass. That's cool, but I didn't really like India saying that. I mean, he's in year 3. He really hasn't done much. Like rookie of the year, cool. That really doesn't. That's gone.
Right.
There's no nobody cares anymore. So you're gonna have to speak it with your game. So that's kind of more of the leader that I would like to have, and that most big leaders like to have is show me, earn it, and then you can talk loud about it. But the whole energy and everything around it is a good thing, like Chad's talking about.
Yeah, and that's something that occurred to me as I was reading that piece earlier, which is like he probably doesn't need to be telling us to the reporter. He needs to show that energy and enthusiasm in the clubhouse and on the field. And then when you are the best player on the team or whatever, you come back to performing well, then people will recognize you don't have to proclaim that you're the leader. You can become the leader without telling a reporter that you're the leader. So, but I mean, I will say the energy and enthusiasm.
He set the tone from the very first pitch spring training, though. He got on first base, went out there, got second, stole third, was out there hustling from the jump. So if you are going to say it, you got to go out there and back it up at that point. You can't.
He better now. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's been trying to.
Yeah,
he needs to cut his hair. He needs to cut his hair. Before we get into this, he needs to cut his hair.
I'm with you.
It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. These kids these days, with the rock and roll music and the long hair,
He should braid it and set Reds Twitter on fire.
Oh, that would be fantastic. You're going to say something about the stolen bases, Carlos?
Yeah. What's the record for a single season? If that gets broken, asterisk, right?
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
Gotta
because
be.
when you the pitch clock plus the inability to throw over as many times to first base as you want, plus the larger
Base sizes,
bases. Yeah, I mean, Eric Davis was still 400 bases in a season. 400
That's a lot of
bases.
bases.
It's a lot of bases. Yeah.
The Reds are going
Right.
for the spring training record, wherever that is.
Gosh. Will Benson again.
I just hope they go at 100%, and then first try opening day, got him. He's out.
Yeah,
That would be hilarious.
that would not be hilarious at all.
But they're already going to be up 10-0, so it's whatever.
There you go. Exactly.
I don't know why they're
Boy,
stealing up 10-0, but yeah,
That's a
edit
good
that out.
point.
Edit that out.
Yeah, that's not good. All right, Nate, I'm not going to let you say your final prediction because it's too ridiculous. So I'm not going to let you say it unless you sneak it in before I go to the next topic.
If you click on this on YouTube and you see that it's titled Chad's Boring Predictions, then you know I got overruled. But my final, go ahead.
That's Chad Encarnacion Steer to you, pal.
For my final and most bold of predictions, the one that Joey Votto's alien abduction was only slightly less realistic than, is your Cincinnati Reds and mine are going to make the playoffs this year.
Playoffs.
We're talking about playoffs. All right, we said to get bold. And, the Brewers, that's who I looked at. They were a game out last year at 86 wins. Go take a look at that roster. I mean, their best hitters were Hunter Renfroe and a guy named Rowdy, who's awesome. And I wish the Reds had him because, we've been through
Hefty
that. But
boy.
Rowdy's the list. They just have a bunch of kind of above average dudes hitting baseballs in Milwaukee. Now, pitching is where they do it, right? But they only had 3 guys with an ERA plus over 120 more starts. The Reds can do that. I'm not.
Are you trying to talk us into it or what?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm not expecting this, but if you go position by position, you can see oh man, if Jake Fraley hits an OPS plus of 110, 115, which is not crazy to me. He did that in limited time last year. If Will Myers is good and they don't trade him too early, if Joey's comeback player of the year, Jonathan India bounce back season, Christian Encarnacion Steer is good at both first and third bases with a little bit of DH. I'm just saying, sneaking into that last wild card is the absolute ceiling for this team, but not impossible.
I like it, Nate. I respect.
I will lose all of this optimism by April 3rd, but let me have it now. Come on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure last year, whenever we were on the Late Night Red show, at about this time, I said, "Man, somebody listed that many things that need to go right for them to be." I'm like, "Man, that's a lot of ifs.
That's a whole lot.
That's a lot of ifs,
That's a whole
and
lot.
all of the ifs have to hit, not just half of them, all of them."
All I will say, Nate, is
Yeah, you're right.
I will quote my friend Red from Shawshank Redemption. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. Nate,
We should predict this. I want to look at the schedule and see over or under 500 in April.
Yeah, over.
That's actually it.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's going to be all about that start. Certainly, they're not going to start 3-22. I will say that I did sprinkle a little dash on the Reds over this year.
You should be hammering it the way you're talking.
Yeah,
Really? That's a bold prediction.
Okay. But you made a great case for it.
Yeah, he made a case for it. We'll say that.
Cocktail.
There we go. So but good point though. If they just don't start 3-42 like they did last year, at the very least, if they could just be 500 like 3 weeks into the season, we're already ahead of the game. We're already winners in the game of life. So, how about some viewer mail? Can we do some viewer mail, please? These questions come from our friends at patreon.com/riverfrontcincy. That's patreon.com/riverfrontcincy, where you too can support the world's most dangerous podcast. Joey Gaditza, our friend from Canada. Hey, fellas, have any of you ever been to Goodyear for spring training? I think it would be most enjoyable. One of these years, I'll get there. Where'd you spend your spring trainings when you were actually training, Carlos?
Peoria
Peoria.
in Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's they share with the Mariners.
Yeah.
But I went to one spring training to visit Joey out there in Goodyear.
How
Wasn't a
is
whole
it?
lot to do. I mean, the
Yeah.
ballpark's awesome. It's cool, but you got to go to Scottsdale really if you're going to do anything, which is on the other side. But it's awesome to go and check out some games.
Yeah, I've never been. I tell you what, I was talking to our buddy Carver last week before, and we have this perennial plan that every year we say we're going to do it. And I don't know. I'm going to try to see if we can't actually do this year. Go out to that Reds fantasy camp. You ever see the fantasy camp where the old fat guys are playing around with the old fat players? So I will fit in perfectly. And we keep saying we're going to do that. One of these days I have to do that. I mean, I suck when I played baseball.
Nothing like a bunch of bad body guys in a baseball uniform.
That's all I want. I want 9 of them. I want 9 of them in the major league roster, baby.
Oh,
rowdy
gosh.
Celeste. I've never been to Arizona. But I did go to Florida when the Reds were in Sarasota. I saw them play in a few stadiums down there, and it was a whole lot of fun. I think it was right when I turned 21, so I might have had too much fun. Got a little sunburnt when I fell asleep in the outfield after a few adult beverages. Take a little nap in the outfield grass, behind the fence. But spring training baseball is a lot of fun, man. I mean, the crowd's into it, the energy's there. You don't care about wins and losses so much, but it's a good time. Also, quick interjection, looking at the April schedule.
Uh-oh.
I mean, the beginning and end of the month is not bad.
He's talking himself into it, Carlos. He's in real time here. He's talking himself into it.
It starts out with series against the Pirates and Cubs, and it ends with series against the Pirates, Rangers, and A's. The problem is right in the middle, you go Phillies, Braves, Phillies.
Nah.
Remember the time the Reds were decent and they couldn't beat the Padres or the Pirates to get in? That wasn't that long ago.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. The problem is when I was making my argument earlier was that I looked at the other wild card teams, the Padres last year. I'm like, oh, the Reds are nowhere close to that.
Next question comes from Jerry Seduth. Jerry says the early spring training games are showing a massive uptick in stolen bases and hits that would have been outs in the shift era. What Reds players are likely to benefit most, and conversely, how vulnerable is the Reds defense with the new shift rules? I'll be honest, I don't know the answer. I'm interested to see in terms of the defense. I'm interested to see how Jonathan India, whether the shift helped his defense. There's some thought that maybe his deficiencies were masked by the shift rules. I don't know. I don't know that anyone knows who's going to be benefit. I mean, Will Benson's going to benefit because he's going to get 1 million stolen bases, but that's just because he's awesome. I don't really have a good answer here, and that's a really bad thing to say, I guess. I'm supposed to have some answers. But either of you have any predictions for how this is going to play out, these new rules, the shifts?
I'm interested to see Jonathan India over there, being able to be a little bit more athletic. I don't think it's going to help him because last year was easier to be a defender. You didn't have to cover as much ground. So I don't know. We'll see how much he worked on his defense because that was a big problem. I mean, there was talks about moving him to the outfield. So let's see.
Yeah, we talked about Graham Ashcraft a little bit. He's going to be impacted for sure. We'll see how that plays out throughout the course of the season. I think one person that we know is going to be negatively impacted is Mike Moustakas. Not the strongest defender, still catching strays, will all season long.
He's catching so many strays.
Offensively, I think it's really going to help Joey Votto and Tyler Stevenson. Those are the guys to me that got robbed the most by making solid contact in places that they spent the entirety of their lives getting base hits, and all of a sudden they weren't anymore. So,
that's where I was going to go with Joey. The Reds really don't have a lot of left-handed hitters, and you would think maybe some left-handed hitters would benefit most from the lack of shifts. And so I was, you're right, Joey Votto. How many times has he been robbed because they were playing him the right way?
Yeah, that guy in short right field was a killer.
Yeah. Right. And so I think that could absolutely help Joey. And I don't know, maybe Tyler Stevenson as well. But Joey's the one guy that I thought just because just being a lefty. So,
yeah.
Branch Brown, with all the stuff about different balls being used at different times of the year. Hello, this is a family podcast, Branch. Some teams, the Yankees, getting the juiced ball more often. Well,
I
I'm
see you
losing
working,
focus
Branch.
here. Branch, will players be much more vocal when they think something is up with the ball this season? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I will say this. I like how every one of my answers to these questions start out with, I don't know the answer. That's literally the first few words I say. Why are you asking me this question? I don't know the answer. I think this whole idea about different balls being used, and, I think that's one of the things that's irritated me most about recent years of baseball is, there needs to be a ball. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Carlos, anything you have to say about balls here on the Riverfront, the world's most dangerous podcast?
I can't believe players aren't talking about their balls more, because
All the time.
they know how they feel. A pitcher can tell so quickly if his ball has been missed with, if it weighs a little different, weighs a little less. There's different textures to them. It's wild, and it's so easy to tell. You can tell just like that.
You just have to squeeze them a little bit, and you can tell, right?
Bam. Yep.
I do not envy Major League Baseball and whoever is in charge of juggling all those balls. It's tough.
It's not good. Yeah, it's not good. So leave the balls alone. I think that's what we're saying.
No,
Leave
yes,
the balls
but
alone.
seriously, I couldn't believe that more people weren't up in arms about it, and I asked some people as well, like, how come this isn't a bigger deal? And it's like, I don't really think there's that big of a deal, but it was a big deal, and
Yes.
there's proof of it. And how can you not be upset if you're, that's affecting your money?
Yes,
If
that's where
you're
I was
hitting
going.
more home runs in Yankee Stadium because they're playing with those type of baseballs than in Arizona or wherever, like, you're putting up similar numbers to this type of player, but this player is going to have a couple more home runs. He's going to have a couple more doubles. All of a sudden, you're not going to get more than this player. Just because of that, they're not, when you go into arbitration, they're not talking about, oh, they use this baseball, they use that baseball. It wasn't a level playing field. So I just don't understand. Like, even as a Yankee pitcher, I'd be pissed. Like, what are we doing here?
It's infuriating. I can't imagine any other sport being like, we're in basketball. We're gonna weigh the ball down this time. It's gonna weigh different. It's complete madness.
And then for them to do it in the playoffs, I was like, what the hell are we doing here, man? These playoffs are great enough. We don't need to juice the baseball just for the playoffs. I mean, that sucks for the pitcher. Team pitcher.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not a huge scandal. I really can't believe it's not a huge scandal.
It should be the biggest talking point out there.
Yeah, like that one article that came out in December. I mean, basically when they talk to Manfred, he's like, he just denies it. And it's, at worst, he's been proven wrong. And, at worst, he's lying about it. Just flat out lying about it and saying, no, we haven't done this, but there's proof.
Right.
How does it just get swept under the rug?
I blame the media.
Thanks for the question, Branch.
Thanks for the question, Branch. Next question comes from our buddy Kyle Kapler. Kyle's question is this: is Jose Barrero in danger of becoming an obscure former Red? Got to stand out from the crowd eventually, right? Well, I don't know how to know the answer to this question, but Jose Barrero is already an obscure former Red. That's my bold prediction. He's already an obscure former Red.
Come on.
You already wrote him off?
I've already written him off, yes.
All right.
I did.
I'm going to make sure and at you. Every hit he gets, at Chad Dotson.
Oh, yes. That'd be fine. Please. I hope he gets lots of hits. He's on a path to becoming a future obscure former Red.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I'm not really giving up, but yeah.
How many options does he have left? Like one more? So if he doesn't figure it out soon, then he'll be figuring it out.
He's got to have way more than that, doesn't he?
He probably has at least 2 or 3, I would think. Yeah. Well, I don't know. This is his 4th year up and down.
Is it?
Right? I think so. I think so. So, yeah, he's getting close to
these things.
Yeah, come on. What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to research this before the show?
Sound off in the comments.
Yeah, whatever.
Don't you have a guy over there? Doesn't he have somebody you can tell, Chad? Just act like it.
Yeah, I got Joel.
Hey, Jim, can you look that up real quick?
Hey, Jim, can you misspell somebody's last name for us real quick? It was the producer. It wasn't Chad. It's not his fault.
Seth Shaner Seth says, welcome, Carlos. Okay, first of all, what about me? What about Nate? And I don't know, we've sort of already talked about this, so I don't know if there's anything you have to say about this. I hate to lean too hard into Joey Votto stuff with you, Carlos, but I wanted to know how different Joey Votto is now compared to when he was coming up through the minors. Maybe give some examples. Thanks. Is he different? Is he the same goofy guy?
I mean, he's the same old Jay at heart. Same guy. With me, always has been. He's just a little busier now. He's got a lot of things going on. He's at the end of his career. He's got to be even more focused than what he was back then, which is even hard to believe to even say because he's always been dialed in. But other than that, man, he's the same guy. He just lives and breathes baseball all day, every day. I mean, he's done this for when was he drafted? In 2002?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right? I mean, 20 years, half of his life has been professional baseball. So it's, you would think some certain guys would change, but he's not. He's always been real, always been the same type of guy. I'm sure, all his teammates will say the same thing, when they talk about him in his Hall of Fame induction, years down the road. But no, I mean, he's the same dude. And it's, why I love him so much.
Yeah, I'm going to Cooperstown when that happens, by the way, and I hope I get to speak because I imagine I will get a chance to.
By the way, do you have a hard copy of that magazine? Because he wants one. The article that you wrote.
Listen. What? Hold on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I do have a copy that I can. Did you get a copy? They were supposed to have sent one to you.
No,
did they ever send it?
Send me one, but you didn't.
They didn't send that, really? I asked them. All right.
Have a day, buddy.
You're serious? You serious? They never sent you one?
No,
because I gave you
that.
Oh my gosh!
Well, tell them to send two
magazine.
Now.
All right, so yeah, I'll get to send two out to you, and then you can get one to Joey. So he didn't hate it, I guess is what I'm hearing here.
No, he liked it. That's all I need to know. That was good.
Yeah. That's fair. I try to be fair. All right. I doubt that Phil Castellini will be asking me for a copy of my opening day feature column in Cincinnati Magazine this year.
You should just sign it and send it to him as a gift.
I may do that. All right, let's see. Rich Thompson, I love you. I laughed at your question. If you resubmit it next week, we'll talk about it. But as always, it's a little too long and we're running short on time. So we're going to go to James Urban. James, this one's been getting to me. If sour cream is already sour, why does it need an expiration date?
I've got strong feelings about this.
Do you? Let's hear them.
First off, can you think of a less appealing name for a product you're trying to market as a food ingredient than sour cream? Second, how did they come up with it? Were they just sitting in the kitchen one day and a wife looks at a husband and is like, honey, the cream has gone sour. Should I throw it away? And he says, no, put it on a burrito.
Okay.
Sour cream has bothered me for years, and I'm glad that we got to talk about it. Thank you, James.
I hate sour
I'm
cream.
not a big sour cream guy. I like sour cream and onion chips.
Right, that's different. But yeah, just sour cream on a baked potato or something. No thanks. But a better question, I think, James, is if sour cream's already sour, why does it need an expiration date? I think a better question is, why do we drive on a parkway and park on a driveway? Why is it when you transport something by car, it's called a shipment, but when you transport something by ship, it's called cargo? I don't know. These are just unanswerable questions that I don't know.
I don't know.
We're at the 1 hour mark.
I should have got the pitch timer from my son, or the clock, or the pinch counter for how many times he says, I don't know. I don't know.
Hooper Powell's next question. They used to say in the NFL, defense wins championships. What would be your all-time defensive Reds starting nine? Ooh. I don't know. Brandon Kamek asks, will any active outfielder in the Reds system be a future significant contributor? I know we have candidates to change positions in the future, but the current depth is awful. We already talked about Will Benson. That's the only answer, I think, right? Are any other current outfielders in the system going to be Elliot De La Cruz, maybe, center fielder?
Matt McLain,
maybe.
You count?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a world where Jake Fraley could be a depth piece on a good team. I don't think as a starter, no.
That's the thing, and I like that we have a highly rated farm system in Cincinnati, but there's some decent pitchers that have already graduated the big leagues. The infield depth looking good, lots of shortstops mostly, but the outfield from almost top to bottom, major league to minor leagues, it's slim pickings, as they say. So I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody know? Who am I? Why am I here?
I don't.
Nate, what else you have going on around the riverfront?
Oh man! First off, I want to say Hooper will. We'll talk about your question at a later date. I would like to put some more thought into that one. That takes some preparation.
It is a good question.
Friend of the family, Joe Farfsing, and I still doing the Riverfront Bengals show over there. Just had a real fun episode putting together the all-time single-season offensive team. We're going to do defense next week. Other than that, just watching baseball and getting ready for a wedding.
Getting ready for a wedding. Carlos, any final thoughts for us?
You guys will both be there. You know what's up.
We will both be there, yes.
What day are you getting married on?
March 18th. What better way to celebrate
this guy's birthday?
Let's go.
Oh, man.
We will be linked forever, Nate.
Turns out you need to celebrate in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico.
I'll be at my brother-in-law's wedding. He's getting married in Houston.
Oh, really?
Priorities, my friend. Priorities.
Maybe we'll keep the jet ready. Just keep it fueled, Chad.
Snag me an invitation. I'll be there. Oh. Carlos, anything else for us here?
I mean, there's a lot of talk going on about the pitch clock. I don't know if you guys talked about that last week or not. But my thoughts about it is, I'm fine with it just to make some tweaks to it. 15 seconds is really short. And I feel like once a pitcher comes set, then stop the clock because the pitch is coming.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's no need to penalize somebody or have somebody get hurt because you call a timeout at the last second whenever, if I'm in my stretch position and I'm looking at the guy at first, looking at home, there's a point where I'm not looking at home plate anymore until I'm going to go. I'm looking at first base or second base or whatever, not really focusing on my target or anything like that yet until I get to go. And as soon as I get to go, then I lock in. But if the guy's out like this, I mean, I got to stop. And I don't practice that. I don't practice stopping. That's how you get injured. So yeah. I'm fine with the pitch clock. Okay, you want to speed up the game. I'm not totally for it, but I understand it and I get it. And I think it's going to be fine. They just need to make some tweaks to it, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I am for it. I like the idea that it's speeding up a little bit of the action, but that's a point that probably needs to be addressed. What's the reasoning for when someone, gets to the, that point in their wind up or in the stretch? What's the point in enforcing the stop clock after that? I mean,
yeah, that's so silly. That one, that was going out today viral with who was a pitcher of the former Red?
Wandy Peralta.
That was ridiculous. Yeah. That was ridiculous. People are like, oh, this is so great. Oh, no, he should have wasted more time, this, and that. I'm like, come on. You even got to admit that's ridiculous. You want to see that in the playoffs?
Well, I think that's the extreme, kind of like the other extreme that we see the other videos going around about, how many times can Jose Altuve hit a inside the park home run before, so yeah. But the injury part is the one thing that I've been interested to see because so many guys are max effort pitchers in recent years. And I wondered, are we going to see injuries from people trying to hurry? And because they're not used to doing that. Not been the last how many years they've not really done that, in their careers. So I don't know. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I made a bet with a buddy of mine that I think a pitcher's going to throw it at an umpire when he steps out like that because I'm telling you, your adrenaline is taking over. You might have just given up back-to-back doubles to give up the lead. You're pissed, and there's really nothing you can do about it other than try to get this next guy out. And then all of a sudden they call this out. I'm telling you, somebody's going to fire one right over that umpire. And what are they going to do? Throw him out of the game?
I don't know. I mean, really, might be the best way to avoid injury is to follow through and pitch, hit an umpire. Hit an umpire, save an arm.
Because there's guys back in the day that would just hold the ball, and wait for the batter to call time. As soon as you hear that umpire call time, you fire the ball right at that hitter, and you just get away with it.
Good times. All right, I think that's a good place to call it a wrap. Thanks everyone for listening, supporting the Riverfront. Please remember to subscribe to the show either on YouTube or in your favorite podcast apps. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Riverfront Cincy, everywhere. And a huge thank you again to our supporters at patreon.com/Riverfront Cincy. This show would not be possible without the support of our Patreon family. So click the link in the show notes, go to patreon.com and Riverfront/Riverfront Cincy, join our hijinks. Shout out to Adam Dunn, to Lisa Alberto, to Wayne Kronchicki, to Norman Encarnacion Steed, for Nate Dotson and Carlos Guevara. This is Chad Dotson saying so long, everyone.